It's Tuesday, the first full day of spring cleaning, fire selling my early bird picker store. Off the top, I'm going to start by acknowledging I made a major oversight in the planning of this whole strategy. Welcome to Early Bird Picker. My name is Rafa. I'm a reseller on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and Amazon. What sold videos are a regular feature of my channel, but this week is special because I'm uploading them every day, every other day maybe, just more frequently than normal. If you didn't catch the video before this one, make sure to go check it out. I am doing a fire sale, spring cleaning, kind of just flushing of my entire eBay store. The primary purpose and the reason for this, I had done some research on affecting eBay algorithm. When researching how to improve eBay, your ranking in the algorithm, many of the recommendations and the points I already knew and I was already doing for the most part. But I did discover some things I had never heard before and certainly never considered. The number one takeaway that I learned from the research that I was doing in how to improve my eBay ranking for items, which is of course based on the algorithm Cassini, it's the importance that sell-through plays on the ranking of your items. Many people have heard how important sell-through, paying attention to sell-through is, but that's usually in regard to the item that you're buying to flip. You want to make sure that that single item sells really well over the last 3 months on eBay and not that too many more are listed than have currently sold. But in this instance, it's in regard to store sell-through. So to recap, or in case you missed the video from the one before this, before I launched this plan to really hopefully improve the sell-through of my store, in the last 3 months, 387 items had sold. On eBay, that is, I had a lot of items that were marked as unsold. That's what happens to items for me when they sell on a Facebook Marketplace. I mark them as unsold on eBay. But we're specifically looking at sold items on eBay, which is 387 in the last 3 months, divided by the current number of active listings, which was 322. So over the last 3 months, the sell-through of my store is 120%. If you want, take the time to calculate the sell-through of your store. I feel like 120% sell-through is actually pretty good for a store, but I have no idea. I really haven't done any comparison with anybody else's store. All that I know though, when I looked at that number, is I just was really aware that I have a lot of items that I haven't really dealt with in terms of repricing them. They've been around month after month after month with not only like no offers, just no action whatsoever. Over the last several weeks, I actually have been doing a really good job on a daily basis. The items that get refreshed after the 30 days, I take a look at those, I end those items, and then I relist them or sell similar at a lower price. But I just still really wasn't getting too far with that. And again, I thought I've got to see how important the sell-through rate of the entire store is. I feel like I have so much inventory that is sitting in my store that honestly, at the end of the day, probably pretty bad buys. So while I'm happy usually with my week after week sales, those are just the better buys that sell, and they sell pretty fast. And so because of having pretty good daily sales on a week-to-week basis, I don't really ever pay attention to what's not selling because I'm happy with what has sold. So of the 322 active listings that I had, I item by item by item by item went through every single one individually, analyzed how I felt the item was priced and whether or not I was going to leave the listing as active or whether I was going to end the item. And what I said right there about ending the item, that's pretty much the crucial oversight that I did not consider going into this plan. More on that in just a second. So for going through all 322 items, there's a lot of things when you're reviewing a listing that you could look at to see how you could improve it. Maybe the photos are poor, could retake some photos. Maybe the title is not great, I could look how to tweak the title, improve the SEO. So affecting store sell-through is pretty simple. You basically want to have fewer items actively listed as compared to items sold. So like I was just saying, there's a lot of things you could do to improve a listing to try to get sold. But in this experiment that I'm running, I wanted to focus on one thing, and that is the price that I was asking. I already put a lot of effort into the title and photos when I list the item. So then the most glaring singular thing that I could change that would really affect if it's sold or not, in my belief, is the price that I'm asking. But for the bulk of my inventory, I haven't touched it since the day I listed it months ago. So when I was making my strategy, I was deciding on the items that I ended. For some of them that are already a low price, did I just want to end those items and then go ahead and just donate those? I have to factor in the time that it takes to ship the item, make my what sold, just everything that comes along with the sale of an item. The question was, if the sale price is that low, is it worth my time investment to do that? Or would donating the item make more sense? In the past, in this scenario, I usually just end the item and end up donating it. I just hadn't been a big fan of selling things for a couple bucks, especially if it's going to include my own packing supplies that I purchased. But again, in this experiment that I'm running, I wanted to have one plan for every item, like a rule that I was going to set for every single item. What I had never considered in the past though, because I never was aware that store sell-through matters, if you end an item, that does help your store sell-through because there's fewer items listed. But if you just donate the item, you don't get the added benefit of that item moving from away from the category of active into the category of sold items. So for some items that sell for a really low price, factoring in the time that's going to take me to pack and ship the item, it financially up front may not make the most sense, but again, I'm trying to really affect the ratio of my sell-through rate on eBay. So that's a plan that I've set out to do, and that's what I'm sticking with. So I had 322 active listings. I went one by one, deciding what I thought about the price, whether it needed to change or not. Several factors came into play. The first being just had the item set there for months after months with no action. Those were obvious. Those are ones that kind of made me scratch my head and think, what was I thinking when I priced this? Not only was the price off by a little bit, but I dramatically lowered the price. The second major factor and also major goal of this experiment, like I said, I'm thinking of this as spring cleaning. I want my store clean of all winter clothing. For the most part, that's anything that's got long sleeves. I have a few things that are long sleeves that I've more recently listed. I lowered the price on those some, but for the items that I have that are long sleeves that have been in the store for months, like during the entire winter, and they didn't sell, those are the ones that I dramatically lowered. I work out of the nest, which is AKA my garage. I am always thinking of ways to improve and scale my business, but that said, I have no plans for getting a storage unit. My printer for my labels used to be in my room in the house. Now I've got the Rolo here in the nest. I used to be so irritated by the inefficiency of going to my room to the printer to get each label. So knowing that much about myself, I know for certain I don't want to be driving to a storage unit that is nowhere close. I have to continue to utilize the space that I currently have, but aside from seeing how store sell-through and improved store sell-through affects the future ranking of your items, this is also something just really important that I need to do to make sure that maybe on a quarterly, 6-month basis maybe, that I'm really going through my inventory really thoroughly and just honestly leaning it out. My favorite part of all reselling is of course sourcing. That's probably most people's favorite part. But if within the space that you're working becomes absolutely too filled with items, the sourcing has to stop. So aside from looking at the sell-through numbers, just the idea of cleaning out a lot of stuff that I hadn't addressed for months and months got me really excited. I instantly knew I wanted to run this experiment. So after looking over all 322 items, I ended the listing for 228 of them, leaving only 94 active listings. I'm always trying to look more and more at my numbers, time spent just to become more efficient. And in this case, with only 94 active listings out of the original 322, that's saying that I was only okay with 29% of my items as they were currently listed. That's not a good number. That means that I've overlooked and let go the management of inventory for quite a while. If you're hearing all this and thinking to yourself, wow, I've never done this myself either, haven't gone item by item through all of the inventory, and then it might be a good thing to do, it is a good thing to do because I have so many items that I really just at the end of the day think I probably wouldn't do that again. It's been a really eye-opening process. I'm making notes about what I've learned, things to do and not do again in the future. That'll probably be on the final video of this whole series, just to look back about big takeaways. Here's what I wanted to say though, if you're thinking about doing this, I would definitely not recommend using the same method that I used. The method that I used that I felt would be most efficient is I simply, on my eBay app, I just item by item went down the list. If I saw the item and I wasn't pleased with the pricing of it, there are 3 like vertical dots on the side of the item. I hit that and then I just hit end listing. One after another, after another, after another. All the while thinking I am gonna really just crank out some sales. I'm gonna help out my ranking in the algorithm so much. And on top of that, algorithms are known to really like activity on their site. So the fact that I was managing all these items too felt like it'd be a win. In this whole experiment, I was trying to throw a lot of different tactics that I knew that people have said at least that they've educated that help improve algorithm ranking. So that explains why I ended my listing rather than just simply changing the price. Especially for old listings, there's a lot of education just kind of out in the reseller space that says that it makes far more sense to actually end the listing, start it fresh, because somehow in the eBay algorithm, it's just better. That basically it refreshes the listing than just changing the price on an existing old listing. In my effort to be most efficient, instead of ending the listing and then going into the unsold, choosing it and relisting it or sell similar with a new price, like I said, I just went down the list one by one so I didn't have to go back and forth. So I was efficient in ending them, but the problem, I rocked Cassini's seismograph. I probably broke it. Cassini, by the way, if this is the first time you're hearing of it, is eBay's algorithm or search engine. I thought I was doing all these things to try and befriend it, but as the day went on, hour after hour after hour, with many of my items relisted for sale, no cha-ching is coming through. It suddenly occurred to me that while algorithms like activity, the eBay algorithm is also built to promote sellers that are trustworthy. And by ending so many listings all at once, it looked as if my store was completely destabilized. It shocked the system and I got no action on my items for most of the day. Not only no solds, but also no views. It was crazy. The number of hours that I went without any sales was way more than normal. Additionally, as part of my original strategy about improving the algorithm chances, whenever I go into the unsold inventory to relist the item, the original plan was to do this over a course of several days. Again, because the eBay algorithm is known to value activity, and not just activity like over a week's time period, like if you do everything on one day, eBay wants to see that you're active every single day. And so the plan was to relist all of my items spaced out over several days. Once it occurred to me what was happening, that I completely just scared the algorithm, I had to make a decision if I want to stick with that original plan or just go ahead and try to get as many items listed as possible. In that case, I did not stick with the original plan of waiting several days. I decided that I just wanted to do all the activity as fast as possible, get my store back to being stabilized. It's Tuesday, close to 7 in the evening here. I'm really only about halfway there. My active listings are back up to 198. And that happened several hours ago, and fortunately, I finally did get some sales today. Let's get them. Sold. PlayStation 4 Guitar Hero Live video game. Game and case only, no instructions. Cost of goods, $3 at a garage sale. Sold $23.23 plus shipping on eBay. This is one of the 92 items that I recently listed that I was okay with the price. Not a fire sale. I typically do not source video games, especially disc video games, but this one was pristine. It looked to have never been played before. Sold. Hoka Ona One, Time to Fly, co-brand or collaboration with Fleet Feet, trucker hat. Little bit of staining on the sweatband, otherwise very good condition. Got this for free when I worked at Fleet Feet. I randomly one day looked it up on eBay to see if Hoka hats are valuable. They absolutely are. This one would be part of the spring cleaning category. It was priced quite a bit higher because there are definitely higher sold comps for Hoka hats. And this one was the only one like it listed on eBay. So in general, that's my strategy of my business model, especially for something that's a one-off like this. Price it high, hoping I get it, with the idea in mind that a month later, I'm supposed to come back and reprice the item. Like I said, that's a work in progress, making a habit out of that. But I've had this one listed, I'm pretty sure, for at least a month, so I did go ahead and lower it quite a bit. Sold $27.77 plus shipping on eBay. That sold price is still awesome. Sold. Classifying this one, fire sale. Vintage Pyrex Cian Store, Spice of Life glass container. Cost of good, $2 at Goodwill. Sold $5.55 plus shipping on eBay. This is the first item come through of the fire sale. Let's hope they just keep rolling in. Normally it's my goal in most of my videos to have really profitable items. So if you're watching, hopefully that you see something that you've never seen before and then stock that away in your head as a bolo. Hopefully you find it in the future. Thinking the videos this week might be more in the realm of what not to try and flip. Hopefully still really beneficial. Sold. Purchased in a lot of hats, 18 cents per hat, cost of good. Doc Geiger's Outdoor Adventures trucker snapback hat in excellent overall condition. Cost of good, 18 cents. Fire sale, $7.77 plus shipping on eBay. Hope you'll stick around for the rest of the week and catch the videos that follow this one. While the whole process of making very little money on each item that you put a lot of time and effort to do the listing, the photos and everything, it's not a lot of fun. I have to say, I'm learning a lot and a lot really fast. I can already tell that this experiment is just a really good experiment in essentially running a business. There's not any retail business that I can think of that doesn't run sales pretty much all the time on their old inventory. I'm already learning from this whole experience I need to do less hoping that I'll get the absolute highest price for an item, and then I become just much more realistic about what I'll likely or actually get rather than just some random high sold. Really thinking about what I'm willing to pick up in the future, probably going to be increasing the conditions that I'm willing to accept something in, looking better at the sell-through of the particular item. Sold. Brooks Transmit running shoe. Excellent overall condition. Cost of good, $9, Goodwill. A fire sale item, sold $11.11 plus shipping on eBay. Picked this one up for an expensive $9 against my better judgment for this particular running shoe. It is my normal practice to only pick up running shoes that are specialty running shoes, which is widely considered to be the top 1 and 2 tiers, and that's pretty much based off price that you'll pay, which right now is about $150 to $160 for the top tier, and about $130 to $140 retail in the second tier. Third tier shoes are typically in the $100 to $110 retail range, while fourth tier are more like $80. It just makes really good sense that if a shoe starts out at a much higher price, the resale value of it will also be higher. And as I've mentioned in the past, it's not at all uncommon for me to pick up shoes that are in good condition or excellent condition that are tier 1 or tier 2 and still only get like between $30, $45, $50 for them. If you haven't flipped a ton of running shoes, if a shoe started out at $150, you looked it up on the internet, it might make sense to you that you could flip it for like $100 or something like that. But in general, that is just so rarely the case. Usually resale value is just not near that high percentage. And so if a shoe starts out especially in that $80 to $100 price range, that leaves very little room to make profit. Especially in this case when I paid $9 for this shoe. I knew when I picked this shoe up it was not tier 1 or tier 2. But considering the fact that I do specialize in this particular area and I give out a lot of running shoe advice about how to flip running shoes, I think it's really important for myself to test out what I'm saying from time to time. And so from time to time, I'll pick up a shoe that is outside of what I'd normally recommend just to make sure that what I'm saying is accurate. Basically to see if I can surprise myself with this particular shoe that I knew was a lower model and get a really high selling price for it. It set for months and months. That was not the case. So in the spring clean out that I'm doing, I decided to just get rid of it as fast as possible. Likely the deciding factor on me going ahead and picking the shoe was its absolute excellent condition. And hopefully if you're new into running shoes, you can see that even excellent condition, lower grade shoes still have virtually no resale value. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you're getting something from it or just enjoying the break from our normal episodes. I guess at this rate, I'll be back again tomorrow, another video with more takeaways, what I've learned from this whole thing. So as always, I'll see all y'all in the next video.